This video is to go over incoming and outgoing faxes using the Telin Fax Solution. I'm going to start with outgoing faxes, so you can electronically fax documents from a patient's chart. I'm going to go to a patient's chart. The best place to fax is from the print button in the patient's chart, as it allows you to choose multiple things to fax all at once. By going to this print button, it shows you everything in the patient's chart. So I can either just click on one specific thing, or for example, if I wanted to choose all encounters, I could go all encounters instead of just specifically choosing one. You can choose the patient's history, current meds, allergies, select any reports, any labs, anything on this screen you can include in a fax. Also, I'll point out you can suppress page breaks, as when you choose allergies, current meds, etc., they're usually going to be small, but it's going to automatically put them on their own page. By suppressing page breaks, it puts everything together. I'm going to preview print and fax after you've selected everything you want, and then fax and close. This fax area here is attached to the directory, so you can choose from the directory any physician or anything you have. If they don't have a fax number, you can manually put it in. Let's see. Now you can use a cover page, but you don't have to. If you do not want a cover page, you would just simply go directly to fax. If you are using a cover page, you can fill out a subject and comments that will be filled out on the cover page. Now, when using a cover page, we have two different options. One is the system cover page, so that basically means one per clinic, or the sign-on cover page, which means you can have an individual cover page for each physician. If you're going with the physician option, you are going to want to make sure you are on the correct physician number. If neither of these are selected, it will automatically choose system. But if you're going to be using the sign-on cover page, you can make that a user setting to always use that. And I'll go over setting those up shortly. So after you've done everything you want, you can fax, and away it goes. Also, you can fax directly from a letter. So if you're not attaching anything else with the letter, just the letter itself, you can go under Action and go Fax. You'll see here that I've already got my to field, and this physician happens to have a fax number. So when you go Action Fax, it automatically knows who you're sending it to and the fax number. Now again, you don't have to use cover page if you don't want to. Another option you have is hours to delay. So if you're faxing to an office that you know is a busy office and might not receive faxes throughout the day easily, whatever time it is, let's just say it's 10 o'clock in the morning, you can say delay 12 hours. So it will send the fax at 10 o'clock in the evening, so there's a lot less chance of a busy signal on the other side. And when you've done everything you want, you fax. Also, you can fax from reports. Let me just go to a patient who has a report. From the report screen, you've got this little print icon, and when clicking on it, you can choose either print or fax. And again, it takes you to the same fax screen where you can search the directory or manually enter your fax number. Also, prescriptions. Let me make a prescription here. From the prescription screen, you've got your fax button. Again, takes you to the same screen, same process from here. And finally, we have our requisitions. So our Calgary lab rec. Now, not every requisition in the system is capable of faxing, but any that are MRI, CT, lab rec will have a fax button. So when you click on the fax button, again, you get your same faxing screen. So if you will be using the faxing out option, it's a good idea to update your directory with physician fax numbers, lab fax numbers, pharmacy fax numbers, so they're easily found. Now, after you've sent your outgoing faxes, you want to monitor to make sure that they're going through. You can do so under the Messaging Fax Manager. Now, this does take a few minutes to update, and you can see here there's a progress bar that will let you know when it's done. So while you're waiting for this to update, you can continue on your business. So I'll take this opportunity to quickly go over the cover pages with you, If you'll be using the system cover page, that is made from system settings. So there's a contact info tab under system settings that will already have your clinic name, address, phone, and fax numbers. So the cover page would automatically be built with this information, and then added to the cover page would be the subject and comments that you're filling out. If you want a cover page that's just specifically for each physician, that is done under each physician's sign-on page 2. There's an option here for a personal cover page message in which you can fill out any information that you want to show on that physician's cover page. Now again, it is important if you will be using this option to make sure on the fax screen you have the correct physician number there. If it is an option you're going to be going with, under each user setting, on page 3 there's an option to use sign-on cover page message, which with this selected you will not have to manually select every time you choose cover page that this is the one you want to use. And I can see behind that my fax manager has updated, and you will have your statuses here. This will only show you faxes that are not successful. So you're going to have basically 3 statuses: successful, which you'll not see here as those went through and they're not a problem, also failed and created. This fax server will try 3 times to send the fax, and if it still does not work, you will get the status of failed. Now by double clicking on here, I can just simply hit resend, for example, if it was busy 3 times. Or the other possibility is the number is wrong. So you want to make sure that there's no brackets, dashes, dots, space, anything in the fax number. It just has to be the numbers all together. And if you are going long distance, you do have to put the 1. So after manipulating the number, I can hit resend, and it'll change my status to resend. You'll also see created. Now those would be faxes that were just created. So I've just created these, so they do not have a status yet. So you can keep this window open. By hitting refresh status, you'll see here that it's updating again, and it will take a few minutes to update, so you can check that. Keep this window open all day in the background and refresh the status every so often and see any failed faxes or faxes that are not removing from the created status. The more faxes you have, the longer this may take, so that's why we have the ability to just keep on working while that's updating in the background. Now to go over incoming faxes. Now this is for the Telin Fax Solution, but if you have used the Foresight Fax Solution in the past, it's very similar. So the faxes come in through your image browser, which you could already be familiar with your scans. It's very similar. So when you open the image browser, it automatically opens to your scanning folder. Now you can there's 2 buttons down here, Get Any New Faxes and Faxes. They both essentially do the same thing. So when I click on faxes, it's going to do 2 things. It's going to switch to my fax folder so I can see the faxes that I already have downloaded, and it's going to check the server to see if there's any new faxes and download them for me. So either of these buttons is a button that you're going to want to hit throughout the day, and it's just going to check for any new faxes. When the faxes come in, this is where it becomes very much like scanning. You click on your scan, you can see the scan, or excuse me, see the fax. If it's got more than, here's where it differs. When you're scanning, you really only have 1-page documents, whereas when you're faxing, you can have multiple page documents. And I can see down here the difference. This is a 1-page document, and I have nothing down here. This is a 2-page document, or a multiple page document, and I can see how many pages there are, and go through back and forth and see each page. Now, the importing is very much exactly the same as scans. When you want to move it in, you go to Import pane, and I'm just gonna move it to Test Cara, and just the same as scans, you pick your physician, you pick your report type, and your comment, and you import scan. Now, with our faxes, there's a few other buttons you may use. First of all, there's delete file. If it's a garbage file, you're just going to delete it and it's going to go away. You have the option to delete cover, which is only going to delete the first page. You have the option to delete page. So for example, if you have an 8-page document and there happens to be a blank page on the 5th page, you can go through here and it will tell you what page you're looking at as you go. When you're on the page that you want gone, you hit delete page and it's going to delete that page. Finally, we have, for example, if your fax is upside down, you have to hit 180 and split. What that will do is split it into each individual page and flip them the right side up. And if they're already the right size, but for example, this is a 2-page fax, if there was one page for one patient and another page for another patient, we obviously have to split this before we can put it in the patient's chart. So by holding down the Shift key and clicking 180 split, it will break it up into 2 different pages, which allows me to put each page into a specific patient's chart. So this might also belong to test Cara, so I'll move that to input pane, and this one happened to be an ultrasound of the abdomen. And I will import my scan, and this second page here belongs to our good friend Steve. So we're going to put that in and move to input pane and import scan. So you can see that the importing of the scans is very similar to scanning. And again, I can keep my fax server at the back, refresh my status, and keep a watch on my outgoing faxes to make sure that they're all going through.